Hello guys, eventually we have finished the folding, so the last step will be applying some detailed patterns and maybe stitches later, or some other stuffs if you want to add on it. Let's start with creating repetitive patterns, like things like leather and maybe something else in the middle here, and maybe something else also in the inner side of the show. Okay, so let's start with this guy. It's almost like the simplest guy ever. Okay, so for this guy, before I apply any texture, I want to give it UVs. So let me go back to subdivision level 1 and then go the plugin, UV master, and then turn off symmetry, and use polygroup if you want to have that into one piece. But if you don't need, just unwrap it without anything there. And you should be able to check the UV now by going to UV map and then morph UV like that. Okay. Now the reason I want UV is because I want to just apply noise on it based on the UV. So surface, noise. Okay. Now for the noise, oh, I didn't smooth that part. Let me go smooth that other part here. Sorry about that. Oh. Right. So if I do noise, I should be able to apply noise on it now, but I do want it to be something like leather. So let me go search for leather texture seamless. Okay, I'm gonna download some image I think is proper for my show. Okay, so let's see, make that smaller so we can see everything here. Okay, so what you want to look for is something clean but also have enough detail, maybe some variation. So I'm gonna try this guy. Okay, save it. Alright, if I go back here and choose alpha, I can actually go select that thing here, open it. Okay, and then it's hard to see it. We can drag the alpha scale, make the strength stronger. We can also make the noise scale super big so it's not affecting anything. Okay, and then we can drag the alpha scale to eventually get the detail from that texture. Okay, let me make the strength strong enough. Okay, maybe a little stronger than you would expect to have eventually, and then press OK. Oh, one more thing. Because I have UV, I can actually change the projection from 3D to UV. It's gonna give me much better results. Okay, so maybe a little bit more stronger. I'll make it maybe smaller here. Okay, actually I want it to be stronger. Alright, so the reason I make it super strong is because when I apply to mesh, it turns to make it super weak. Another reason it's noisy is because I haven't got enough polygon to capture those information. So I may need to Control D some, maybe 2 or 3 times, at least reaches 1 million polygons, and then apply to mesh. Okay, that will apply it across the mesh. You see now it becomes actually weaker. Okay, and that's probably the intensity I want. If it's a little too strong, I can go for deformation and then smooth it right here. Drag that slider up multiple times and it will keep smoothing it across the entire surface. Okay, so that's gonna make it better. Alright, now I have that applied on this part. Okay, so for this part, oh, let me just do the same thing on this part before we move on to others. Okay, so this guy is basically the same thing. I'm gonna pass through it. So the plugin, UV master, unwrap. Okay, go back to tools. Okay, oh, and also go back to the highest subdivision level. Maybe Control D it twice more, and then go to the surface, noise, turn on alpha, look for the image, and then, oh, where is it? Frame it. Okay, And then use the UV projection, makes the noise super big, and then scale the alpha, and then go change the strength. The alpha is too big, and lower that down, and drag that strength, make it super strong. Okay, and then okay. Alright, and then apply it to the mesh. It will become weaker, and then eventually even that out by go to deformation and then drag smooth up a couple times until it looks nice and clean. Okay, alright, I got that one done using the same way. Now those two are easy because all I need is, you know, the same texture just goes across this entire surface. But for the other two, I'm gonna make them have some variation. For example, this guy, okay, I want maybe the inner part to have a different kind of pattern here, and I don't want it to go all the way through. Also, I want it to be maybe somewhere in the middle here. So what I'm gonna do here will be Control Shift and isolate that. Also go back to the lowest subdivision level so it's easier to control. And then Control Shift and use the Select Lasso. Oh, come on, Select Lasso. Okay. Holding down Alt to deselect those things, or, you know, hide those things. And then Control W to give that one a group. And that's the part I want to have a different kind of pattern. Okay. So, and the second thing I want to do, of course, is some UV. Because this one is a little complicated, I'm doing the UV, I want to check on polygroups and unwrap, just in case I cannot make that one into one piece, and I will have UV seams when I'm applying any texture. Okay, now go back to the highest level, holding down Control. Oh, go to Move, holding down Control and click on that guy. So I can isolate that guy using masking, and then I can go to go for deformation, and then maybe we can inflate inwards a little bit, okay, to have some dipping in part, and then inverse the mask so I can you know, smooth out that really sharp edge. Okay. Alright, when that's done, let's clear the mask, Control D maybe 2 more times just to get a really high resolution, and then isolate that guy again, that guy in the middle again, and then we can, to isolate it's Control, when you're using Move, Control click on that, okay, and then you can go for surface noise. Okay, this time I'm gonna apply a different kind of noise on this guy. So let me go back to my stitching. This time I'm gonna look for net lace seamless. Okay, I'm gonna just use the first one. Okay, let me go open it and then download. All right, now go back to the noise maker and load that one. Use the UV, of course. Let me zoom in. Okay, and then I'm gonna make the noise scale really high, strength really high, and then alpha scale kind of low. Okay, something like that would be nice, and then maybe make the strength stronger, and then press OK. Now I have this repetitive pattern applied across the area I have masked, and then eventually just apply that to the mesh. Okay, when I'm happy with that, invert the mask, and then for the other parts, I'm gonna apply a different noise, a different alpha, maybe just the original laser texture we used earlier. Okay, a leather texture. All right, and then apply again. All right, now I have 2 different kind of textures applied across the model. Okay, so that's done. All right, let's move on to this guy here. So this guy would be could be actually a little different. I want the inside area here to be a different texture. So let's do that. Oh, before I do that though, I also need to have some UVs. It's always good to have some UV at the very beginning. Oh, you know what? I want to actually give them give those inner part a polygroup, and then do the UV and give them use the group so I can have them in one piece in the UV shells. So Control Shift and click on this one. It's gonna isolate that, and I'm gonna go for auto group underneath polygroups, auto group. It's gonna separate that into two groups, okay. And then Control Shift, click on that again and again. Oh, and again. Just isolate the parts that is the inner part of the show. Okay, those parts, okay. Control Shift and drag there to invert the isolation. Control W to give it a single polygroup. Okay, so I want this blue area to have a different kind of texture, which is, you know, I don't know yet. Maybe I can choose something later. For now, I'm gonna do the UV first. So Z plugin, UV master, and then I'm gonna go polygroup on wrap. Okay, go back to the highest level here. And then Control click on it. This time, maybe I can actually go inflate it out. So deformation and then inflate. So I can inflate that out. And then immediately I can go for a smoothing to smooth that edge a little bit. Huh, I'm getting a lot of messages. Sorry about that. Okay, so that is done there. No one is gonna see the inside, so I don't really worry about that. Okay, anyway, so with that being created, and can then apply some different noise on it. You know what? Let me go Control D to subdivide it one more time. Maybe even one more time. Oh, 1.9, maybe that's a lot. I don't want to lag my system because I'm recording too. So anyway, a different texture then. This time, maybe let's try, let's see, this guy here. Okay, let's save that. Oh, not saving link, save image. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna apply that on this guy. So the same process. Oh, surface, which is over here. Noise, alpha on and off. And then check that, open it using UV. Okay, and then noise scale go all the way up, strength go really high. Okay, that looks nice. Maybe not that small. Let me go. Maybe not that big. Maybe make it smaller. I can go the other direction if I wanted to. Okay. Alright, now I have some interesting shape populated over there. If I'm happy with that, just let me make the strength even bigger. Press OK. And then apply that on the mesh by doing the apply to mesh. Okay. And again on the other side, I can just invert the mask and then apply maybe the same leather on this part. So I'm gonna do that right now. Noise, add it, change the alpha to this guy here. Okay, and then the size to something smaller. Direction goes to the other direction. Press OK, and then apply it to mesh. Alright, maybe I can go smooth it a little bit. The thing is, things in ZBrush tends to be really contrasty, and if you're exporting this to renderers, maybe that's actually maybe that's strong enough. Not too strong actually. Maybe that's not too strong because in the renderers somehow they always blur things a little bit. But just to make it look nice here, I'm gonna go deformation and then just smooth it. Okay. Now if you look at the show, now we have all different sort of texture applied across the entire surface. Maybe you can blur that out. Don't want that to be also too sharp actually. It looks like a hard surface somehow. Actually I should do that by masking others first. Okay. Have a nice and big smooth brush to smooth that out. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna actually use that smooth. Let me save it before I do more, because it can be crushing in the middle if you drag those sliders too fast and too much, especially it's kind of like a complicated model. Alright, so those are the things you can do across the model. So with only 3 different images, I can now already populate my model with a lot of complexity. So what's next then? Well, let's see, I wanted to have some patch on the side of the show, maybe here, like a circle there. Okay, so let me do that. What I can do is go maybe select that and then geometry, oh sorry, sub 2, and then duplicate. The reason I duplicate it is because insert brush doesn't allow you to have subdivision level. You have to freeze it, but it never really works because you have to unfreeze it. It's gonna freeze the entire computer. The calculation is too much to do that. So I'm just delete lower on this guy and then insert a cylinder there. Okay, maybe it's over here and that big. Alright, and then I can just immediately go for isolate that and then do a delete hidden. That way I will not have that anymore. Okay, so for this guy, I'm gonna go first geometry and then edge loops and delete loops just to get rid of those unnecessary loops. And then maybe I can just stretch it in using move, drag the end circle there and maybe move it close to the show. Okay, for this guy I also want to give it some detail. Maybe I can first use inside the region just to get something. Oh, let me make my brush smaller. Just to get something in. And I want to insert the flat element. I think that's what that is. Okay, that's good. Get something in like that. Okay. And then maybe I can add a edge loop here. Okay. And then maybe I can extrude that in using QMesh, edge loop, poly loop. Z modeler is a lot of fun actually. You see that it's fancy. If you try to use all these fancy, you know, targets and grouping ways and all those operations you can do. Let me bevel this guy here. Okay. Maybe also bevel the back. I can insert this region using poly loop. Okay. Maybe Q mesh it in a little bit. Okay. So something like this, I wanted to apply that, you know, on the side. I think it's too thick. So let me go use masking. Maybe I can go grab that. Okay, invert the mask and then just push it in to make it thinner. Okay, all right. So that's that. Maybe I also wanted to have a star in the middle. Okay, like I'm sure that you have that little thing and you have a star there. Okay, so I need to go create a star. I can do that, of course, by using the modeler again. Let me go. Maybe that. I don't think that can be changed. Let me start with the cylinder again. Okay. And then for this cylinder, underneath initialize, I'm gonna change that to maybe just 5 here and nothing there. Okay. And then make polymesh 3D, turn on symmetry. Let me drag it down just to make it thinner. And then I can go BDM and then QMesh actually no symmetry. And then Q mesh one poly out here. Okay, do the same thing on this guy by clicking on it. All right. And then maybe it's easier to do that only on one face. I don't know how I did get that. Sorry about that. I shouldn't do that. Okay. So I can work on one layer, I think. So BDM and then delete. I'm gonna delete the poly loop here. See you. And then maybe delete a island like that to see you. To delete the other one. Okay, now here for those, I'm gonna merge. So move that cursor to one of the dots. Use stitch and stitch to midpoint. Click that and that. That's gonna merge them together. Okay. You know what? I can turn on the symmetry. Transform, symmetry, and then radial symmetry, and it's gonna be y direction, I guess. Turn on the X. Yeah, no, is that? Yeah, that is y direction. So click that and then that. Let me try that again. Oh, one more thing is that I just need actually 5 instead of 8. Okay. So let me do that again. Click there and then there. Just to, oh. There and then the other guy. Okay, now I can do that. Just want to do that and then maybe use move to just drag those out. Okay, it doesn't have to be precise. Now I have a little star there, and then I can, of course, start to give it thickness again using QMesh. QMesh all polygons. All right, cool. And then maybe use insert edge loop to insert some edge loop to tighten things up for the top and the bottom, and then the side. Oh, come on. Okay. Now smooth preview should be giving me a perfect start. Alright. Go back to the to our original model again. Okay, here. I think I can just use the insert, so I can actually convert that into an insert brush actually. So brush and create insert mesh and then new. Okay, now go back to my show, which is this guy, and then I'm gonna insert that star here. Okay, position is kind of wrong. Drag it to the middle. Maybe scale it in a little bit. Orientation is wrong too. We rotate it this way. All right, now I have a little star there. Okay, like that. All right. One more thing I want to do is, of course, I wanted to match the contour of my, the show, because I have foldings there. It's not perfectly flat. So how can I do that then? First of all, I want to Control D to subdivide this guy like 2 or 3 times, and then I want to also drag it out a little bit just in case there are some touching on the inside face. Okay. Maybe oriented. All right, to match the contour or the shape of this this little circle to the underneath geometry, you can use a brush called the match maker, this guy, and then just use a fairly big brush, no focal shift, just drag there. Okay, and you see it's being pushed down already. The shape is perfectly matched. And then I can just use move to push it in. And yeah, that's it. Now I have this guy perfectly aligned with the underneath geometry. This is one of those structure there I can add. You can add more if you wanted to, like smaller stitches. That's just like that. You can also do things like a little button there, a little a little button there. I don't know if they do have them. Insert modeling toolkit. Maybe that one have something. Let me load that brush. Okay, press M to load all the possible equipment it does have. Ooh, there's a lot. Maybe I can just borrow one of it. Let's see, this guy, like a button. Okay, I want to insert it there, but again, if I do that, it will tell me that I cannot do that because this guy has subdivision levels. So let me duplicate this guy again, and then the new one will be having no subdivision level by deleting the lower, and then I can insert one on this guy. Okay, I don't really like that thing. Maybe just something simple. You know, like a bulge or something. Okay, like that. Drag that on here. Okay, and then Control Shifts. Oh, I need another one on the other side, of course. Okay, Control Shift and click on those two. Oh, clear the mask. Okay, Control Shift and click on it, and then I'm gonna go. Oh, and click again, and click again. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I'm using the. I don't know. Sometimes when you have the measure brush, trying to do that. Sorry, the modeler brush. So I'm trying to delete the unnecessary one there. Doesn't allow me to do that. For some reason, let me save it. That does have a feel it's gonna crash. Just save it more often when you're doing the details, because details takes a lot of performance, and it can get crashed really fast. Okay, now I have those hidden, and I just need to reverse the hidden ones and then delete hidden. Okay, now I have two little things created there. Can smooth that too, you know. Doesn't look super nice, but you got the idea, right? You can keep adding those things to give it more complexity. Maybe I can do that here to, you know, give it a flatter top. And I don't want the bottom to be creased, so geometry crease and uncrease all. Okay, that's gonna make that smooth. All right, and then maybe I can go tweak it a little bit. Oh. A little something there. Actually, it doesn't look super nice. I would actually recreate that myself if I want to refine that, because it doesn't really look super nice over here. But anyway, just some detail you can add. Now we have a lot of details applied across this entire surface: layers, patterns, patches, smaller patches, you know, all sorts of different variations on the detail. So another thing I want to add is, of course, some stitches. Okay, so there is a stitch brush in ZBrush, which is this guy. Okay, you can use that to apply stitches across the model, just like that. So it's fairly easy to do, actually. So that's one of the ways of doing that, and it's been proven decent, you know. Otherwise, it would not be one of the brushes instead of ZBrush, right? It's the default brushes. Okay, so you can use that to start adding stitches. Okay. So, let me just use that to create multiple stitches around the model to the area I think, okay, that part needs some stitch. I can do that this way. So maybe here on this guy, some stitch up there. Okay. Same thing on the other side. Maybe also going down here, just to give it a lot of smaller, enjoyable detail. And go, oh, it's actually, let's see, I can actually make it visible here. So that has to be here instead. Let me go all the way back. This guy has to be more or less like this then. Oh, okay. So you can go crazy with those smaller details. So for the bottom of the show, what I can do is maybe have something going across this line here. I can Control Shift and click on this one here to isolate it, and go Stroke, Curve Function, Freeze Mesh, Frame Mesh, and then go for this cube again. Insert cube. Okay, insert cylinder something. Click on that to insert something like that. I think it's too big. Make my brush smaller so I can create a smaller one. Oh, somehow I made it flatten. Oh, the ad actually. Did I make it flatten? I don't know how I did that. Anyway, let me go brush and then reset our brush. I must have done something. I actually don't know how I did that. Sorry about that. So let's go there and do this thing again. Click on that. It's too big. Make it smaller. Okay, so I can have a little line there. Maybe too small. Just to make my my brush a bit bigger. Click there. Okay. So now I have a cool line going across that show and the bottom of the show, and I can click there to finish that. So that's basically everything I want to go over for the creation of the show. Okay, and we have went over a lot of things, techniques that you can do with ZBrush, but there could be more actually. My way is never, I never consider my way is the best way, just the way that works for me, and you can of course experiment more, you know, techniques that you think would be actually working better for you, because some people like to think one way than another, so you never know if there are better ways. So always try new techniques, I think. So let me just fill in that with some stitches. Oh, going too much. So the downside of using this brush is that it's hard to control sometimes. Another downside of this is that it's untexturable eventually. So it will look nice in ZBrush. So, but how do you texture it? Do you know, go to Photoshop and you specifically paint a white color on them to make them like stitches? How do you actually make those look nice? Is actually a big problem there. So I would say sometimes it's actually better to do those kind of things in, you know, other packages that like Substance Painter. Oh, this is one more thing I didn't introduce. Here, you know, I have the star and everything. It's nice. What if I want to have a rounded stitch around it? You know, I can do that, but I can never be perfect. You know, so it's really hard to do. So what do I do then? Oh. Well, instead of using that brush, I can actually use another kind of brush to create some stitches. My other ways of doing stitch, which is, let me show you here. Actually, it's gonna be cool. Let's go back to the Z sphere. Okay, and then turn on symmetry, of course, and then let's drag out two spheres and holding down shift to make them the same length. Let's just drag them away like that, and then create one more in the middle, and so I can bend that down. Okay, maybe drag that away a little bit, drag the middle one down, and just give it a nice contour. So you might think, okay, what are you doing here? What I'm doing here is actually a segment of a stitch. Okay, so this is actually a stitch. And so what do I do with it? I can just go adaptive scan and then lower down density, preview it, and then just make polymesh 3D. It's going to convert that into a 3D mesh. Okay, and then I can Control Shift and grab the top ones and then go delay hidden. That way I don't have the bottom anymore. Okay, so that's basically a stitch geometry. Okay, and then I can Control D maybe to subdivide it once to get a decent smoothness. Alright, so I have a stitch geometry now. Let's making it facing me and go brush, create insert mesh and then new. That way I can insert that on my model now. Okay, and if you go back to there and then try to do insert that on the model, it will tell you that you cannot do that on the multiple subdivision level objects, which is quite annoying. I need to again duplicate this guy, and then for the new one I'm gonna go for geometry and then delete lower and higher. Okay, alright, now I can populate that across the surface, but still that's gonna take a lot of time to do that. So what I'm gonna do here again is I am going to convert the stroke into a curve brush, which is here, turn on curve mode, so I can drag out that like a curve. Okay, the curve step will be you know, how much there will be one. So if I change that to 2 or 1.5, the distances between those stitches will be bigger. Okay, alright, again this is also kind of hard. If I do that, you know, it will create a circle, but it can never match that. So if I want to match that, it's also easy. Control Shift and click on that to isolate this guy. Okay, and then I can choose one of the circles using VDM, which is the Z modeler. Use crease a edge loop complete and click there. That's gonna crease that guy, and then I'm gonna go for stroke and then curve function and then frame mesh and then turn off border and polygroups and frame. It's gonna use the curve to frame that creased edge. Alright. Oh, so I don't have to isolate other things actually. And then if I use my insert mesh and brush again and click on that, that's gonna populate the stitches across that circle. So if I have a bigger brush and do that again, I have my stitch perfectly aligned with the roundness of the star. Okay. You can also see that they're just standing there, they're not dipping in. To fix that problem, I can go to brush, depth, and then just drag that down. Okay, and then click there again. That's gonna push them in a little bit more. I can, oh, maybe I'm pushing in them too much. Let me go back a little bit. Okay, and then click on the model. Alright, now have a nice and clean stitch created for that. Of course, after that, I'm gonna Control Shift and click on it and do delete hidden, because I already have one star there already. So now I have a perfect stitching going across that part. I can of course maybe do the same thing for this guy if I want to have some stitches going around there. Okay, I can do the same thing because I have loops there. Okay, so let me go again. I have to go sub 2, duplicate it. The downside of this insert using curve brush is actually it doesn't allow you to have subdivision level. So you need to delete. Let me lower down the subdivision level a little bit. Okay, delete higher, delete lower, and then crease that line maybe, and then go stroke, frame mesh, and then go back to my insert mesh brush and then click there. Maybe too small, let me make it bigger. Okay, now I have the stitches going around there. I can click on the model to finish it, Control Shift and click on it and do delete hidden. Alright, now if you go back You can see now I have populated a new line of stitch around, perfectly around that area I want to have. Of course not quite perfect, sometimes you will have that issue there. Just use move to fix that, you know, no big deal. Okay, just use move to fix that a little bit. And then the benefit of using this kind of brush is that you can actually create an ID map very easily based on polygroup from there, so you can use that for the texturing process much easier. So anyway, but still, only this, you know, free mesh functionality can help you a lot when you have a very complex surface and you just want to create a line of stitches around it. This is one of the easiest way you can apply that. Alright, so we have textured, we have created so many detail here already, but you can keep creating more and maybe add imperfections. Like, you know, here I wanted to break this part by, I think it's doing autosave, by drawing some, you know, strokes here. Maybe this part is broken. Okay, I can of course push things in just to add some imperfection if you want to create some kind of old shoe, just like that. Okay, to give it some imperfection there, but I'm not gonna do that because I want to create some show that looks, a show that looks quite new. Okay, at least not destroyed. But you can do this kind of thing, of course, if you wanted to. Alright, so some broken part over there. Okay, so that is for today's tutorial. I hope you have learned something already, and that's gonna also wrap up the entire process of ZBrush show sculpting tutorial. Okay, so thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next tutorial.